Okay, so chapter 6 is called Friends Forever, and this is like, peak Megan. Um, a little glimpse of what it's like to be around her, I think. And not surprisingly, it's all about um, what her friends have done for her. Not one thing about how it's reciprocated or how what they do together. Um, but this is how she chose to represent her friends. The first one is K someone. I'm terrible with names. And I'm sure all of you that are watching know who I'm talking about. I think that she's talked about her before. Kate something, who was a friend of hers at Fox when she worked over there. She said they bonded over the fact that they were the only two people who showed up to work with no makeup and in sweatpants, and that everyone else seemed to walk around camera ready 24/7. Again, Megan seems to have a real big problem with people who just make themselves presentable to leave the house, which, by the way, is not that big of a deal. And um, there is a psychology about showing, pride in your appearance when you go out. It doesn't have to be, over the top, and you're not talking about setting your whole ego about what you look like. But when you're angry at the people who feel better when they feel like they look good, and you've just thrown on sweatpants and your hair in a ponytail and run out of the house, and somehow they make you feel bad, you're doing it wrong. Like, if you feel better about yourself with no makeup and in sweatpants and a ponytail, then just own that and stop complaining about the people who don't do that. Because really, Megan talks about a lot about civil society and how things used to be able to debate and all that kind of stuff. Well, in civil society, we also never used to walk out in sweatpants. You know, if you were exercising at the time, okay. But sweatpants and pajama pants are not really what you're supposed to wear to the grocery store or on a plane. But I'm sure she does, and I'm sure that the presence of other people not doing the exact same thing that she's doing feels like an attack to her. So anyway, so they bond over the sweatpants and no makeup, which is fine. That's super cute. I'm sure they did it in some sort of mean girl way, but whatever. And so Kat's mother died, sounds horrifically, in some sort of undiagnosed disease. She'd been sick a long time. That by the time they figured out what she had, it was super rare. She died 3 weeks later. And Megan says her mother's death was arguably worse than mine because it happened so fast. I'm gonna leave that one there. And then she goes on to say that while her father was dying, Kat was her death whisperer. She asked her all sorts of things like, how am I going to feel? Am I going to cry? Is it going to hurt? So you just complained a couple chapters ago, Megan, about not being prepared for when your father died. And yet you have this close friend that you say, who you say also guided you through the process. And, through the death and the year after, and, trying to check in on you on the anniversary and that kind of stuff. So for you to complain that you weren't prepared, I don't know what more preparation you wanted. You had someone that you went to and talked about these things intimately. So you can't have it both ways. You can't, I just don't understand what more you wanted from that situation. And the unwillingness to just sort of, accept a circumstance is mind-boggling. But anyway, so Kat was your whisperer. She told you stories about how she flipped out on people while her mother was dying, and you took that as an acceptance to be able to be mean to people. That when you're grieving, you're excused from your behavior. I don't buy that. Because you're stressed, it doesn't mean you get to take it out on whoever happens to be around you, whether it's on a subway or a plane or a sidewalk or your workplace. Part of being an adult is a part of being able to manage your reactions and use your own energy and stamina to express yourself in an appropriate manner to the people that are in front of you. I'm not saying you have to always be composed, because there are times when things are happening in front of you where it's okay, but you can't. But taking it out on the people who aren't the problem is what makes people call you a bitch, because you're just being mean to people for apparently no reason. So anyway, so there's Kat. Then she talks about Clay Aiken, who had a kid in 2008. So he helped her through all of the baby stuff. Again, a few chapters ago, she complained about how unprepared she was, but she had someone who was literally giving her firsthand advice over and over and over again. And it seems to be like that's what she wants. She wants to have someone tell her all the things that are going to happen, and then have exactly those things happen. Any deviation from that plan, she can't cope with. She also said that Clay went for the entire week of the funerals, went to every one of the funerals, and helped her at the National Cathedral to understand the size and the space and the acoustics of it, and how to use the microphone and how your voice is going to carry, so that the message gets delivered in the way that she wants to. So again, like professional singer helping you with your audio, and you still complain about shit. I just don't understand that level of mentorship and that level of privilege and access that you have, yet you constantly complain about how much you don't know. One of those things you didn't know was how long it was going to be from the walk from the funeral to the burial, or wherever you guys were walking in the heat in August. So you wore stupid big shoes for like a 5-mile walk or something. How is that? How do you plan something like that and not for a second think to ask, how long is that walk? Or look it up. Google Maps will probably tell you. So she got there and her feet were blistered and bleeding. And but what am I going to do? Go barefoot? I can't do that. Not in that solemn situation. Ugh, insufferable. And then, it was so hot, some general passed out on Clay's lap, and somehow they've turned that into a joke. No one seemed to care about taking care of the general. He just had a general in his lap. And then she talked about General Mattis, I guess, was giving out the flags that were draped on his casket to John McCain's kids. And when he handed her flag, she said, make sure you honor him. She said in a very stern way. And then followed that up with, you know what I'm talking about. And she says her family was taken aback that everybody's scared of General Mattis, and how could you talk to him like a school teacher, disciplining him. And she said, I was mad at the Trump administration, and he was the only representative there, so I took it out on him. Now, she has complained in this book and over again about how she can't stand being an avatar for people's frustration with the Republican Party because she's sitting in front of them. But yet she just justified what she did by taking the person that was in front of her who represented what she was mad at and took it out on him. So and a lot of times she considers herself being attacked when she's just simply being asked questions. How does the Republican Party reconcile all of the things that they do versus the things that they say? And she gets frustrated and flustered, and she hates it because she can't answer the questions. So then the third friend was some guy named Josh, who apparently, I guess, hair and makeup person who, cut her father's hair, and they all loved each other. And, he was at the funeral, and she told him that he looked like Janet Jackson at Michael Jackson's funeral. I didn't look it up. I don't know what that reference means, but I guess that was her way of giving him a compliment. But she uses these three examples of these three people. And, there was a longer thing about Josh and how nice he was, and, how he took care of her father when he was sick. all this kind of stuff. But it was just like, I got this from this person, this from this person, and this from this person. Aren't my friends great? She seems real needy.